Good evening. Welcome. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Nevada City Council to order. Today is Wednesday, January 14th, 2026, and it's 6:30 p.m. We'll begin, as we always do, with the Nisenan tribe recognition. I'm going to ask Councilmember Peterson to read that.
We acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible. We understand that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition.
Thank you, Gary. Would the Vice Mayor like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Certainly.
Wonderful.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Lou. Madam Deputy Clerk, roll call if you please.
Councilmember Peterson,
Here.
Councilmember Fleming,
Here.
Councilmember Fernandez,
Here.
Vice Mayor Sisi,
Here.
Mayor Klein.
I'm here also. Council, now's the time for any agenda modifications. Would you like to make any additional changes to the agenda, pull consent items, or do we have any recusals to announce? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion and a second to adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Councilmember Fernandez and a second by Councilmember Fleming. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We have no presentations this evening, so we can go straight into public comment. Government Code Section 54954.3 provides that any member of the public may address the City Council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on the consent calendar and each agenda item at the time it is heard. Knowing all that, do we have any public comment this evening?
Go for it.
Hi, I'm Greg Zoller, 678 West Broad Street. I was here a couple months ago or so presenting the concept of a community garden, something I'm taking responsibility for to see if I can get it going. We had one for 3 seasons at the Root Center, but it was, they're going to be putting a building there. And so that group actually moved to a farm in Fairdale Community Farm, and they've filled up with 25 people, so it shows there's an interest in it. But I'd like to have one in this area. I think it's something that would build community and be a positive for be real positive for the community. I had a meeting about two weeks ago, but it probably wasn't good timing right after Christmas. I'd like to try again. I'm hoping, I'm going to stick around for the meeting, and maybe some of you might have some ideas on how I can pursue this. I have 2 possible sites in the city that one by Hirschman's Pond and over by, the other over by where I live off of West Broad Street, a strip of land there. And so I'll be here, and if you've got any ideas, encouragement, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Good evening. Gordon Gossage with Regenesis Planet. And I just wanted to simply congratulate all of you guys for going through the process of getting a new city manager. It's not always easy, and read a little bit about her, and just an excellent candidate. And would also like to congratulate Joan in doing such a great job in the interim. And I know that your experience will help her to get up to speed. And again, just wanted to tell you guys, congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon.
Good evening.
Real quick, can we just check and make sure the sound is on?
I think it is now. Okay. Good evening, council members, city staff. My name is Gianna Arbex. I'm the program manager for the Grass Valley Nevada City Cultural District. I'm here to put out a couple invites, not only to you, but also to the public out there. Firstly, I'd like to announce that Muse 2026 is out. This is an initiative of the Cultural District. It's a guide to local arts and culture. Mayor Klein has contributed a story to this issue, and throughout Muse, we highlight our region, including Nevada City. And we are including our local tribes' current exhibition at Ubaseo Gallery in downtown Nevada City in this issue. The guide also features a piece on how to experience the Cultural District as a local, along with a robust business directory showcasing more than 450 businesses locally, and an artist directory that's totally free for artists, featuring up over 230 artists. On Friday at the National, January 16th from 5 to 7, we're having a launch party. So you're all invited. We'd love to have you there, and you can grab a copy. We also dropped copies here to City Hall, so you guys can have an early copy. And then next, on Thursday of next week, January 22nd, I hope you can join us for the Creative Economy Town Hall. It's hosted by us at the Nevada County Arts Council in partnership with the California Arts Council, which is the state agency for the arts. This will be just one of only a small number of listening sessions that are taking place across Northern California that will inform California's first ever strategic plan for the creative economy. We're really ahead of the game locally, as you know, with the rollout of our own plan, Culture Forward, beginning this year and running through 2032. This town hall provides a shared opportunity for city officials like yourselves to gather with community, businesses, and arts leaders to engage with state leadership and share and listen to perspectives from across sectors. This is a very important moment for not only for the state when we're talking about creative economy. We know California is a big state for the arts, but we're ranking really low right now in state funding. So I think your voices are really important, and we really hope that you can be there, share your voices, listen. We have Danielle Brazel, the Executive Director of California Arts Council, and Fiona Marr will be there from 1 to 4 at Miners Foundry on the 22nd. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Thanks, Gianna.
No other public comment? We'll move on to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. Before we take action on the consent calendar, we will hear any public comment on consent calendar items only. Do we have any public comment on any of these items? Hearing none. I'm looking for a motion in a second.
I move to approve the consent calendar as written.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Peterson and a second by Vice Mayor Sisi. Any objections to the motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to business. Business item number 9 is a consideration of approval of city manager employment agreement with Carrie J. Wright. How about that?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as indicated, this is the time for the council to consider approving the employment agreement with Carrie Wright, who is here this evening to be introduced to certainly the council. You've already met her, but also to the public. The proposed employment agreement is attached. It's been negotiated. We are in agreement and moving forward with your approval. The start date for Carrie would be March 2nd. The highlights of the contract is she would start at step C of the 5-step range for this position, given her background and experience, particularly in economic and community outreach, which is something that's been very critically important to this council and is part of your strategic plan. Standard other benefits would apply in terms of benefit and time off and that type of thing. Ms. Wright comes to the city with a strong background in economic development, housing, and community engagement, all key areas that the city has been very actively promoting for quite some time. She has extensive experience in team building, working with the community and public organizations, and supporting local businesses, which we all know has been a significant effort by this council and the community. So with that, I would answer any questions you might have. I would indicate that we have released a press release. Once the item became public on the council agenda, it was important to let the community know that this was going to be an item of discussion before you this evening. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those, and then obviously be able to introduce Ms. Wright to you and the community.
Wonderful. Thanks, Joan. Any questions from the council?
I had my chance for questions during our panel. I think I'll have plenty of time more to talk to her. Thanks.
We have no questions.
Okay. I would just like to say that, as you all know, I feel very vested in this community, and I feel very confident that Carrie will carry forward with all of the initiatives that you have before you. And I feel very strongly that I will be leaving here in another month or so in very good hands. With that, I would ask for a motion to approve the agreement and then to introduce Ms. Wright.
I move that we approve the agreement and introduce Ms. Wright.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Councilmember Fernandez and a second from Councilmember Fleming. Shall we do a roll call vote?
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Fernandez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cici?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes.
So with that, Carrie, if you would like to come up, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce Carrie to the community and certainly to offer my welcome. I know the council offers theirs as well.
Thank you. It's hard for me to have my back to the community, but with the microphone and the need to speak to council, I'll just say this. Thank you so much for your trust in me. I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry.
You
If
want me
you would come to
here?
the table, yes.
Oh,
I've just been advised by,
okay. I'm supposed to be here now.
Even further from the community.
Even further from the community.
It's a test.
So thank you so much for your trust in me, and thank you, Joan, for your guidance through the process, as well as Heather, the recruiter. I looked very carefully. I did not apply for a lot of jobs. I feel like I really was intentional about picking a community that has an identity, that cares deeply about preserving its history, as well as being open to those who, come as you are. So very excited that I feel like I found that here, and I'm looking forward to hitting the ground running with lots of opportunity to get out in the community, meet the business owners, residents, and really understand kind of all of the issues and all of the great things. And I already was offered a tour of the museum. So I'm very excited about that. So I'm looking very much forward to getting, moving up here and getting started on March 2nd. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Golf clap. Do you have to do public comment?
Do we do public comment on this? Would anyone like to say nice things about my new friend Carrie?
Good evening. My name is Diana Gamzon. I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance, and just wanted to give you, Carrie, a very, very warm welcome. It is so lovely to just met you, and really looking forward to working together on advancing cannabis policy and as it relates to our economic development goals. And thank you to Joan. It's always such a pleasure to work together, and thank you for being part of our community during this transition and ushering in our new phase of leadership. So thank you so much, Carrie. And thank you so much, Joan, and to council for the whole process, for being expeditious and thorough to bring us to where we are now so we can move forward with lots of exciting things. Thank you. Wonderful.
Yay.
Thanks, Diana.
Good evening and welcome, Carrie. I'm Lynn Skrugrud with the Nevada City Chamber of Commerce. I had a great time getting to know you a little by participating in the community panel for the interviews. And I just want to say we're very excited to welcome you and looking forward to working with you on our economic development goals. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thanks, Lynn.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome. We're excited.
Yay.
And keeping the excitement going with a presentation and update on the water and wastewater rate study by staff and the Rural Community Assistant Corporation.
Hello, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, council members.
Good to see you.
So this is a report on a water and wastewater rate study. And so it's been quite a while since we've done a rate study. And I'll give you the dates, but we were very fortunate to get connected with Rural Community Assistance Corporation, which helps small communities like ours, especially rural communities and tribal communities. They actually got the funds for this study from the Water Board, so the study has not cost the city anything to produce, and it's a lot of work. And so they'll describe the organization in more detail, but I have Sarah Bixler and Jean Thompson here today. And so we've been working for several months on the study, and this is the first time it's being presented. And but it's basically our goal is to just have clear communication, transparency, have rates that are fair, and also just address the raising cost of everything like labor, energy, chemicals, everything related to water and wastewater treatment. And then just the aging infrastructure. As you know, we have an older city and older pipes. And so we do have quite a significant percentage of aging infrastructure we have to deal with. So the rate study is meant to address that, but it's quite involved, and they'll describe it in more detail. But it's it's a financial analysis, and you look at the capital improvement projects that are coming up, as well as number of services, number of customers. And so I'll turn it over to Sarah and Jean, and then I can just also talk a little bit more about the current rates and when those were established, and answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Jean.
Hi, thank you for having us.
You bet. Welcome.
All right. So again, my name is Sarah. We'll do a few more introductions in a minute, but I'd like to take an opportunity to introduce our company. So this presentation encompasses the water and sewer rate overview. Like Brian said, we spent some time on this, and I'm happy to present our findings to you today. Oops. All right, so who is RCAC? RCAC is, we stand for the Rural Community Assistance Corporation, and we are the western arm of the greater partnership or umbrella organization called Rural Community Assistance Partnership. And we serve all 50 states. The partnership serves all 50 states, and our company We serve the 13 Western United States and Pacific territories. And we're based in West Sacramento. This is our mission, our vision, and our mission. Our vision is that rural and indigenous communities throughout the West are empowered to be vibrant, healthy, and thriving. And our mission is that RCC partners with underserved rural and indigenous communities to achieve their vision and well-being through technical assistance, training, financial resources, and advocacy. And so in this case, we are working with you through a TA agreement we have with the Water Board. I'll explain a little bit more of, and we've been doing this financial analysis with you. Just a few notable things about RCC. We have many different programs, and a few are listed here. We do affordable housing. We work with community on their facilities projects. We have large department is our environmental department, where we do a lot of water and wastewater infrastructure projects, including financing. And we work closely with the Water Board, and we work with all states' SRF funding sources as well as federal funding sources. We're known as a training organization. We train board members, we train water operators, and we do online and in-person trainings for all kinds of things, financial, managerial, and technical trainings. We do on-site technical assistance, and we do median household income surveys, which Jean is an expert at. So like we have alluded to, these studies have been funded by the State Water Resources Control Board and different funding programs through each. For the water rate study, we were funded by the Safe and Affordable Funding for Equity and Resilience, otherwise known as SAFER, which is a huge program right now. And the wastewater rate study was funded through the Septic to Sewer program at no cost to the city, because according to your median household income, the city is considered a disadvantaged community. And this right here is this is like the disclaimer from the SAFER program for the SAFER funding. All right, on to our introductions. Again, my name is Sarah Bixler. I'm a Small Utilities Project Manager 3. I've been working at RCC for over 7 years now, and my contact information is here. Besides me here, we also have Jean.
I'm Jean Thompson. I'm an assistant field manager. Been with RCAC 22 years, and have been working with communities, provide technical assistance training, as well as Sarah indicated, I lead the median household income survey team, which conducts income surveys to qualify communities as disadvantaged to get funding, grant funding for their projects.
And we also have a couple staff members with us via Zoom who couldn't be here tonight, one of which will be giving part of the presentation, and his name is Samuel. He has an opportunity to introduce himself.
Sure. I'm Sam Rodriguez with RCAC, a small utilities consultant. I'm actually based up here out of Bellingham, Washington. Oh.
Trippy.
Thanks,
yeah,
Sam.
that was, I don't know if I'll give you a second to see what's going on, Sarah.
Oh, thank you. I think that's good.
Okay.
Hi, Samuel.
Hi.
Oh, hey. There we go. Perfect. Thanks for being here.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we do have another staff member, Abigail. She's here to provide any additional explanation if needed. But I don't know if Abigail...
I would say, yeah, Sam and Abigail were instrumental in helping develop the new wastewater rate structure that the city has requested of us. So they're the team that will discuss and present the portion of the new structure.
Great.
Abigail, did you want to take a moment?
For having us.
There's Abigail.
Hi, Abigail.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, hi. It's a pleasure to be here with you, if only virtually. I am a utility finance consultant at RCAC, and I have 10 years of experience in the rate setting industry. It's kind of all that I do. So I'm so happy to be here and happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you.
Fix the audio.
All right. All right, now we can go back to the presentation. Yes, thank you. All right. So let me just give a brief overview of how we do our rate studies. First thing is we review the current and expected or projected expenditures, which includes your operating costs and the capital improvement costs. And then we determine the revenue required to cover all those costs. We calculate a rate for all ratepayers, and then we do so by focusing on equity and affordability. And by doing it equitably, we make sure that the rates are justifiable and that they're fair, and that affordably it should be palatable to your customers. And I do want to mention that in terms of equitability, we'll describe in more detail later on in the presentation Prop 218, which is California law. It states that you can't provide, you need your rates to be reflective of the cost it takes to provide the service. So we'll do our best tonight to describe how we got there. Looking at Nevada City's current water rates, you have a bi-monthly water rate structure starting at $48 bi-monthly for a 5/8 inch meter. And then that is, that increases depending on the meter size, which is reflective of the meter equivalent unit calculation, which is the AWWA max gallon per minute capacity. And so, again, that's by meter size. And then for the flow fee, we have a tiered flow fee structure, which means that after 8,000 gallons, the flow fee increases from $2.39 to $3.10. And just want to mention that when we took a look at this, the average monthly bill that we're seeing, again, monthly, even though we know you're billed by monthly, is about $36.66 for water rate. And the affordability of that is about 0.6%. And I'm going to go into further detail about how we calculate affordability. Okay, so the State Water Resources Control Board, they have a drinking water needs assessment, and they determine an affordability index percentage. And that's by dividing the annual bill that a customer will pay by the median household income. And so for Nevada City, again, that's about $69,552. And that was according to the 2023 American Community Survey. So it has, I think, slightly changed at the time we looked at this and got the TA request. That was what it was at. And then they determine these tiers of risk in terms of affordability. And so anything that's lower than 1.5% is considered a low risk of affordability for a customer. And anything between 1.5 and 2.5 is like a medium risk. And anything above 2.5 would be considered a high risk in terms of affordability. And again, looking at the water rate, we're looking at 0.6% of affordability. The objectives of our water rate study in creating a water rate: one, we want to make sure that we're covering all operating expenses. Two, we want to make sure we're funding the necessary repairs and capital improvements, which we will talk about more extensively. Three, we need to make sure we're accumulating sufficient reserves, which are also by AWWA standards. And then four, we want to revise the current rate structure to reflect the latest cost of service. Again, cost of service being the language from Prop 218. And I do want to mention, as we get into this, we definitely tried to make sure we cut costs where possible to make this palatable to customers, because that affordability is currently so low. So we'll also talk more about that in detail. So looking again at current expenses, right here is a little graph of the breakout of expenses. So right now, a little less than half of your operating expenses is in personnel expenses, and then the rest of that is a little bit more than half is the maintenance and operations expenses. And when we look at a budget, we expect the budget cost to increase about 4% annually. The current water revenues that are being received right now from ratepayers is last year was $1.1 million. And when we took a look at the water rates, the revenues that we're seeing being received from the the base rate or the flat rate and the flow fee comes out to annually $822,000. So currently the water system is facing in an operating deficit. So how do we look at funding for the future, right? This is where we took a deep dive into your asset replacement program. So how we did that was we took an inventory of all your assets. And sorry, I failed to mention it, but in your board packet, there's tables that go along with this presentation. So if you'd like to reference that, and for the public as well, we do actually have a few copies of these that are exactly the same as in your board packet, if anyone would like to take a look at that. But yeah, so we took an inventory of all your assets. We looked at asset line by line. We excluded those that would not be replaced. And then for those that would be replaced, we looked at in great detail when they would be expected to be replaced, at the time of replacement, how much we anticipate each asset will cost, and then at that time of replacement, how is the city going to pay for it, cash, grant, or loan? And so that's how we calculate how much to set aside each year. And some of the assets will be replaced sooner. So in 2 years, they're reaching their extended useful life. Some of them are going to be replaced up to 25 years from now. And so we did our best to plan ahead to make these rates sustainable, to think about asset replacements. I do want to share an example of that because the cash percentage does change depending on how much that asset is expected to cost at the time of replacement. So for example, in 2009, the city did water meter improvements, and at that time it cost $290,000 to do that work, that project. And we expect the extended useful life of those meters to be about 40 years. And so in 24 years or so, when we expect those meters to reach their extended useful life, the replacement cost will go from that original $290,000 to a little over $1 million. And so that's an example. However, we did look at the default funding of asset replacement by the cost of each asset. So we determined anything that was over $1 million, we would, the city would be pursuing grants aggressively as much as they could for that. And then the city has proposed that they would be setting aside 15% in cash to cover that 1 million, for example. So it's not all by cash, but we're looking again at cash, grant, or loan percentages. However, upon discussion, we're not expecting the city to take out any loans at this time. I didn't mention it, but we didn't include in this list any assets that were under $7,000 in value. We assume that any asset that's under that would be included in the general operations and maintenance budget for the water system. Okay, and continuing with the asset replacement program, like I said, we created that detailed list. We looked at the useful life, and currently at today's cost, the assets would cost, if they were all replaced today, the value of them all today is $12.6 million approximately. And then at the time of replacement, they would be about $16.4 million. And so to be able to save for the cost of replacing those assets, specifically the percentage of cash, not the full cost, the percentage of cash that the city believes they should set aside for each asset, and that's in Table 5 of your board packet. We recommend that the city set aside $279,000 approximately in an annual contribution to intentionally replace those assets and set aside for that. There was a note I just skipped ahead, but grant funding is not always guaranteed. And the funding environment changes year after year. We've seen this. So, any cash that can be set aside for these assets is best for, the longevity of your system. And then Along with the asset replacement program, the city actually has a very detailed capital improvement plan for future projects anticipated. So we wanted to make sure we took that into account as well. So the 5-year CIP for fiscal year 2025-2029 included this list of projects here. And the total cost of that, that project list is $15.2 million. However, RCC only considered the cash percentage, again, of what the city has planned to contribute in that plan, and that's about 8%. So you can see the 1.143 is the 8%. And that amount, it fluctuates year by year depending on the projects anticipated. And so in order to account for that, we want a rate that will help you achieve that cash goal that you have, that 8%. So instead of it fluctuating every year, we smooth out that 1.143 over the 5 years. And that amount smoothed out is seen there below, which is $228,748. However, we know that the cost of this as well, it will be an impact on your ratepayers. So our recommendation is to push that out by 1 year and start contributing to that reserve in 2027, or the second year of your rate increase. Taking a look at the current water fund balance, the operating reserve currently is about $21,000, and it's recommended by the State Water Board to have a minimum of 3 months of operations and maintenance expenses in your operating reserve. And so that also accounts for about 1/4 of the total budget, and that amount would be $297,000 approximately. Additionally, RCC recommends the city have an emergency reserve for assets that could fail at any time, at any moment, having the cash to replace that asset. There's a couple of different methodologies for doing that. You can make that the value of your single most expensive asset, or make it a 1 to 3% of your system's current asset value. And in this case, we recommend that the city set aside 3% of the total asset value for an emergency reserve, considering the aging infrastructure of the city. So that is $379,000 approximately. So that minimum target fund balance would add to $677,000. All right, so putting it all together, we've added a couple charts here for you. With a rate increase, we're looking at that cash flow projection increasing and the city being able to build up those necessary reserves year by year. And the O&M budgets at the bottom is the dark blue. The lightest blue is the capital improvement plan, which you can see is deferred by 1 year into 2027. And then the asset replacement reserve is the medium blue color. And that would still exist in the first year of the increase. So to take a picture of what it would look like if the city does not increase rates, we're looking at the actual fund balance tanking to below 3 million, or actually it's over 3 million, over the course of 5 years. Okay, so option 1 of the rates we're proposing would be increasing your cash flow by about 65% in the first year. And just want to note that that actual fund balance will be increasing. That's the gray line. The minimum fund balance is the target fund balance I mentioned of the $677,000. By year 4, you'd be reaching that target into your actual fund balance. And then those percentages at the top, it shows the increase according to the rate increase year by year. So the 65 is how much the rate would increase. And then the following year would be 15%, and then it would taper off. And again, that CIP is deferred by 1 year so that it's a little bit more palatable to customers if you go with this option. And I will say this is RCC's recommended option. Option 2 would be with no capital improvement plan, and so you'd still have the asset replacement reserve. The increase in this first year would be 48%, and you would still be building up reserves. Yeah, but you just would not include the capital improvement plan, and yeah, it would just continue to push that those CIP projects the city has on further and further. All right, so just want to overview what we've looked at, because we've looked at a lot. And so again, reviewing our water rate objectives, we want to make sure that the city is covering all operating expenses. Two, that they're funding the necessary repairs and capital improvements, so the asset replacement program and the capital improvement plan, that you're accumulating sufficient reserves, so like we discussed, operating reserve and emergency reserve, and then we revise the current rate structure to reflect the latest cost of service. So I'm going to share in detail of how we propose a new rate structure, which is not too different. So we look at fixed rates, and fixed rates need to be aligned with your fixed expenditures. Volumetric rates we want to be careful with, because according to Prop 218, which they are regulated by, a single volumetric rate would be the simplest and best rate structure for Nevada City. It's really hard to justify at that point of 8,000 at what point it reaches the 310, you know, the $3.10. Hard to justify that. So according to Prop 218, it can be contentious with that. So we are recommending a single volumetric rate, which you'll see in a moment. I do want to describe what are fixed costs and what are volumetric costs. The water system has both. And so the fixed costs exist when no one uses the system. Those costs will always remain. The cost to have personnel will pretty much stay the same, and asset replacements are highly fixed, whereas volumetric costs are going to be highly fluctuating. So those costs will go up when the demand for water goes up. So it costs more in chemicals to produce and treat more water, deliver that to your customers, as well as electricity goes up. So we look at the breakdown of both of these costs, fixed and volumetric, and we do have that list detailed in Table 10 of the board packet if you want to look at that more extensively. All right, so the current revenues that are being received by your current rates represent 56% fixed costs, and you're receiving 44% of revenues in volume from the volumetric rates. Whereas the current expenditures that the city has represent a fixed percentage of 71% and a volumetric percentage of 29%. And so the reason why we like to show this comparison is because if you're relying heavily on volumetric revenue in times of drought, if your volumetric revenue is too high, then the city won't be able to make enough revenue to cover expenses. All right, so let's get into our rate options here. This is option 1 with that 1-year deferred CIP. So we're looking at, you know, currently the monthly rate, like we talked, or the monthly average bill for a typical single family is at $36.66, and with this proposed increase, that monthly rate would be $57.96. So you can see in that second column the proposed rates, and again, the affordability is something important to look at here, because that affordability in the first year is 1%, and then it would be up to 1.4%. So that's still considered a low risk of affordability. And we do want to share, at the end of the presentation, we have a comparison chart of other locals, cities, and utilities that have water and wastewater rates, so you can kind of look at where Nevada City currently falls according to your neighbors. And then I didn't mention it yet, but the usage fee, like we said, there's no tiered structure to it. So it would be $3.12 per the first 1,000 gallons. It wouldn't be that usage fee is for per kilogallons or 1,000 gallons. So it wouldn't change going over 8,000 gallons. But it would be slightly increased every year to help maintain the revenue required. Okay, and option 2 is with no CIP. So I do want to make sure you understand that that's not without the asset replacement program, but this wouldn't be funding the CIP. The difference between this rate and option 2 and option 1, the difference in the first year is $6 for the typical single family rate or bill, sorry. And that percentage of affordability is 0.9% and would go to 1.3%. And the usage fee is slightly lower, and it would be $2.80, and then slightly increase, same as increasing just like option 1 was. All right, so that is the water presentation. We would like to hear your initial thoughts. We would also like you to save any decisions for the end, because we would like you to take into perspective everything into perspective at the end, with also seeing the wastewater presentation. And so, yeah, we would like to hear your initial thoughts and then save your final thoughts for the end, if that's okay.
No problem.
Just one quick thing to add is for the water rates, the last update was 2017. There was a 5-year rate adjustment voted by resolution in 2013, and it went up for 5 years. So it's been flat. It hasn't been adjusted in 9 years. So
That's not good.
that's for water. For sewer, we did do some rate adjustments in, the last one was 2023, so 3 years ago.
Thanks, Brian.
Sure. First of all, great presentation. Thank you. You obviously know what you're doing, and much more than I do, certainly. We're immediately going to go to the price, right? I think all of us are going to be like, there's a little sticker shock there. Some of that's on us, obviously, for not increasing our rates. One of the first things is our rates have to cover the service we provide. Yeah, I think that's an official written somewhere, but it should, right? And this is your recommendation, right? So we need to get there, but we're hitting our guys over the head with a 15% rate increase. We just had a huge rate increase for waste management with the same kind of issue that nothing had been updated to. So, I think you're going to get a little bit variations on this, but how do we make this a little bit more palatable to the community? And as far as increases, because look, between the two, you have to do it with the CIP. Obviously, the difference isn't that much, but this is a big increase. We're going to hear about it. I'm going to hear about it from my wife, because she already complains that we pay too much for water anyway. So, could you just tell me a little bit about other options we have besides, just mugging people in the first year? I'm sorry, I'm being disingenuous there, but you know what I'm saying. I don't think that's accurate.
Yeah. We could definitely look at, your reserves, for example. We're recommending you set aside a lot in reserves. Again, that's the operating reserve, emergency reserve. Thankfully, water has no debt, but also you have asset and capital improvement. We have been extremely conservative with the percentage of cash that's the city's adding into those reserves. So it is hard to, but we can definitely come back to the drawing board and see if there's
I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Basically, I'm just saying, can we push some of that, can we spread it out a little bit more? Because everybody's getting a big increase in their first year, and then it mellows out a little bit, right?
Correct, yeah.
Not enough.
Going up.
It will, but.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the percentage in the first year for the option 1 that we're recommending is a 65% increase.
Yeah.
You could change those percentages around a little bit, but you'd end up at the end of 5 years basically paying the same amount.
Exactly. That's my point, I think, is that, 65% in 1 year is just, even though we're lagging, this is on our side of the street, I get that. You're the messenger, I understand that. But 65% is just, I mean, let me ask you this. What happens when you do this in other jurisdictions? And increase it 65%?
Do you stick around long enough to find out? I mean, you're consultants. I imagine that's not your wheelhouse. I don't know if that's a fair question.
We ultimately, we can make our recommendation and the choice is yours.
Of course. I mean, you're the experts. I'm just trying to figure out another way to help our citizens deal with this adjustment that's inevitable, right? So is there any other way? You're basically saying 65% first year and nothing?
So one of the biggest challenges that the city faces is that the current fund balance is like $20,000. And with your current operating deficit, you saw how that tanks if you don't increase your rates, and so the reason for the big increase in the first year is to try to keep your fund balance positive. I think we cannot really go lower than the 45% in the option 2. Otherwise, we would have to draw on general funds to pay for water.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
All right.
and for 48. And the general fund has been subsidizing the water.
We get that. No, it's just, it's something we're going to have, I'm going to let my colleagues
I was
continue.
going to say, that's the question for us.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I just wanted to know if we had
That's a good
options.
question.
And we don't have options. So, I mean, I'm going to let you guys
We
continue.
have 2 options, Doug.
No, I get the 2 options.
Okay.
We only really have one because we can't, go, if we're going to jump in, we got to jump in with the CIP, right?
We're backed in a corner here,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. All right,
We've
Lou.
backed ourselves.
I'd like to put some concrete numbers behind your percentages. You mentioned a percentage of at-risk households. How many households would that be in this town who would be at risk?
Sorry, at what point in the presentation were you talking about that?
You talked about the high risk and,
yeah. Okay,
eventually up to 1.3% at risk
Yes.
of affordability.
That's a good question. We don't know the percentage right now of the community. We can look into that and get back to you.
Because I think if we could do something as a city for those at-risk households, some of this would be a little bit more palatable. Otherwise, we risk actually losing residents because they can no longer afford to live here. And I have a question for Dean. Don't look too surprised. Water rates are notoriously litigious. Does this plan raise any concerns to you?
Awfully broad question.
Good lawyer.
Assuming you all do the right thing, it raises no concerns for me. No, I'm kidding.
What's the right thing, Dean?
No, the options are typically what they are. They may be hard to swallow. In reference to some of the questions about options, there are programs for low-income discounts that the city can initiate in terms of those kind of concerns, but those are separate and distinct from the consideration of these rate increases. So nothing's glaring as problematic at this point.
Okay, thank you. Brian, this is a very practical question. Where can I find out the size of my water meter? Is it on my bill?
We have all of those records at City Hall. I don't know if it's on the bill. It'd be easy to start putting that on the bill, or
I think people are going to want to know. So it's based on the size of the meter. Well, what is my meter size so I can plan what my expenses are going to be in the future?
Yeah.
Those were my questions.
I have a question. Did I hear you say the average water bill for a single family is $36? Did I hear you say that?
About 37 monthly. But you get.
That's not my water bill.
I neither. That's not.
And I'm one person living in my home. Help me understand
That's
that.
not counting wastewater.
Yeah.
Sure.
You gotta.
One part, yeah.
I'm afraid to give the raise.
We bill bi-monthly, so that number was
Got it. Thank you.
interpolated.
Yeah,
Double.
and if I can share, we have a chart kind of at the end of the presentation which shares that the average single family average bill is about $99, but that includes wastewater. And then if you look at it bi-monthly, that would be $200 when you get the bill. So that's like the normal bill that average,
water.
yeah.
What's happening in my house?
For water and wastewater, water and sewage
wastewater.
combined.
Right.
Combined.
In and out.
Thank you.
Check that toilet seal.
All right, moving on.
I'm going to give my time to my colleague, Councilmember Peterson.
I have many comments on this, but I'm going to save many of them about the process. Take a drink, Pascal. But the process at the end about how we roll this out and work with our community. So there's a couple things that are really, really important here. This is us paying for the sins of our fathers who did not incrementally raise fees when they should have. I think it's important.
They were fathers.
Or mothers, or however.
They were fathers.
They were fathers.
But they didn't take care of business, and that's often a political decision, but it always comes home to land, and that's where we are. We can, if we can always make the choice to continue to do what we're doing, which is to subsidize the cost with the general fund, which has been happening quite regularly. However, that limits the use of those funds to other projects, programs, and things that we want to do: public safety, parks, recreation, all the general fund pieces. So it takes it out of that, but it is a decision we could make, and one that I'm certain that you see happen frequently in other places. I'm an enterprise fund person from way back, and I do believe that there should be 100% cost recovery. That's how it should work. We should also build reserves to cover the cost. We have 100-year-old water lines in this town. I mean, it's one of the things I learned to say as a former public works director. $1 million ain't what it used to be. Lose a water line. You open up the ground, you're at $1 million. So the question is rolling the dice. We're hearing. And I think I have no qualms with your process. I like it. I think you're good. I think you're explaining it well. Although I think when we talk to the community, we're going to have to refine these messages quite a bit. But it's like, how much in reserves do we want to have? That's the question here. That's where the options are. But it's also can be managed incrementally if necessary. But it is rolling the dice and wondering if you're going to have enough money when you need it. And we do have, I talk more about wastewater, but I looked this up, and between 2017 and 2022, we had 135 wastewater plant violations.
Yeah.
Back in the late 90s, the plant literally fell into the creek because it wasn't taken care of. And this is the maintenance deal, and then it's like raising funds. You can do it incrementally over small periods of time. Preventive maintenance, you do a little bit as you go, or suddenly you're replacing a whole plant. So those are the kinds of decisions we're facing in this. I'm a little uncertain because you said you're asking us about the decision we'll be making tonight, and I'm not sure there is a decision to be made tonight without a lot of further deliberation, because we're really got to, by my calculations, over 5 years, we're looking at a 300% increase, right, over 5 years. And that's enormous. And it is a time of struggle for folks. So I think we're going to have to do a lot of careful consideration about what we want to do. I do agree with you. I do think that we need to cover the cost of our operations, absolutely the cost of our operations, and we need to get some reserves in place. I sort of laughed at the $21,000 reserves. I don't think that's a valve.
We stayed out of debt, though.
Yeah, it's just, at least it's not negative, I guess.
That's right.
So I think there's a lot of consideration that we have to make on these. That's where I am. But I do appreciate the work. It's solid. It gives us a good platform to decide where we need to go.
My first question's for Carrie. Do you still want to work here? That's great. That's great. Glad to hear it. I agree with all the concerns everyone's had. One question is, and it's possible there's reasons not to, but would it be possible to give our customers, our citizens, an option of paying monthly or bi-monthly instead of everyone? Smaller bites might be easier for some folks rather than every 2 months, here's a giant chunk. Is that something we could look at, or is there a reason why that's...
Just not for them, yeah.
That's our question.
I was looking at Brian. Brian, help me.
Actually, yeah. Brittany and Steve helped a lot with all the finance end of this, and they'd actually be better at answering that question. But I would think it could be done, especially we'd look at other cities that have done that. I would think so.
In the event.
It might have to do with our archaic billing system.
I was going to say, I think coming this year, you'll be able to pay with a credit card online.
I'm still writing a check and sending it Pony Express. It's clear that this is going to be a hard pill to swallow, and it's going to be our job to communicate this very clearly with the people who'll be paying these increased rates, which is all of us here and all of us outside this building as well. I think reasonable people can understand why this is necessary and why it's a shame it was put off for so long. I think the city council from 9 to 6 years ago should have to answer. I'm just kidding. But it'll be up to us to make it very clear to everyone why this is necessary, and be creative in ways of, as Lou said, keeping people from having to leave the community because water got expensive.
You know, this is, you know, pretty much the job of this council is to clean up all these messes. I mean, we've been doing this I've been doing this for 6 years with Daniela and Gary, and 2 years with yes?
3.5?
Yes, 3.5. Oh, wow, getting close, jeez. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Time flies when you're having fun, though.
Dean, is it appropriate to take public comment now before they move on to wastewater, or do we take public comment at the end of the entire presentation?
I would imagine, Mr. Mayor, my recommendation was let's get the consultants through their presentations, and
I'm out of here.
And we can take public comment at the end.
Thanks, Dean.
You're welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Consultants, proceed.
All right. You guys are fun.
Oh, yeah?
So far.
Wait till you hear the wastewater.
All right, let's get back to the presentation. Yeah.
Much glad to be there.
It's good to be the king.
All right. You want me to do it for you?
All right, so as Sarah had explained earlier, I'm not going to reiterate what she had already talked about, fixed assets versus volume flow, and how, you know, we reviewed the wastewater the same as we did the drinking water, and making sure we're covering revenues, expenses, that sort of thing. So your current wastewater rates are $116.26 bi-monthly. That's $63.16 per month. You're at about a 1.1% affordability at the current rate. And the first 4,000 gallons, there's no charge. It's per 1,000 gallons over 4,000. The customers are paying $10.05. And that's based upon their January and February water usage or water flows.
Can you
determines that?
Can you just tell me what 1.1% affordability means?
Yeah, so it's based upon, again, that median household income. And it's something that State Water Resource Control Board uses for determining funding and providing grant funding. So for a disadvantaged community, as you guys are, they look at the water rate being at about 2% of the median household income is considered an affordable water rate. Same thing with wastewater. They look at a 2% is considered an affordable rate for customers. And so that's telling you where you are at that threshold. If a community's rates are not at those levels, they're looking at that you have the affordability to take on loan or debt rather than having to provide grant funding. So avoiding getting to that threshold, they're just eventually, when they go to look at grant funding, they're going to look at those rates and what that affordability is for your customers. I know it seems like a lot, and it is. People don't realize it. You start looking at that 2% of your median household income, but that is nationwide. Federal government, that's what in states, that's what they look at in order to determine what they can provide in debt and what a community can take on in debt and what they need to provide them in grant. If you're a non-disadvantaged community, they look at 4% of the median household income is considered an affordable water rate for those communities that are not disadvantaged. So a community that isn't disadvantaged, getting at the 4% affordability, they would actually look at actually providing grant to a community that's not disadvantaged. Thank you. So again, we're covering all the operating expenses. We're looking at that funds necessary for the repairs and capital improvements, that 5-year CIP plan that the board adopted. And then also accumulating those sufficient reserves that we talked about, and also revising the current rate structure to reflect the latest cost of service. So far on the wastewater side of it, we're looking at, you do have debt, so we have a portion of debt service there. You can see a small portion of personnel, but the main portion of your expenses and operations and maintenance. So again, most of your projected projects are anticipated to increase by about 4% per year. So looking at your revenue side of things currently for your wastewater, you're taking in about $1.7 million in 2024. A portion of that is other income also that you bring in other than just service revenues, and that's connection fees. You get some government funds that come in as well that are part of that revenue as well. But you are facing a deficit just as you are on the drinking water side if you continue at the rates that you currently have.
What's the deficit? I can't see that.
It's about right now at $50,000 per year.
Okay.
And then here is your asset replacement program. Again, that's aside from the CIP that you've adopted. This is looking at the remaining assets that you're not funding in the CIP. And we're looking at a total amount of value at those assets. We're at about $13,000. At the future replacements costs, you're looking at about $34 million to replace that $13 million worth of infrastructure. So we're proposing that you set aside about $467,000 per year in order to have enough reserve to pay for that portion of cash, assuming that the remainder of that would be in grant funding to pay for those projects. What's that? Oh, yeah, table 6. You can look at table 6 and that will explain that. So those list of assets that we're looking at and what those costs of replacing them and current costs you can find on table 6.
Wow, a lot of old stuff.
And this is the capital improvement plan that you adopted for the next 5 years from 2026 to 2030. And the anticipated amount of cash that you would like to set aside in order to fund those capital improvement projects. The rest would be funded by with grant funding. So the total cost of all the projects is at $13.6 million. So you can see $2.8 million would be in cash. The remainder would be hopefully be able to obtain in grant funding. So you're looking at about $11 million in grant funding. So here we're talking back to the reserves again. Currently in your reserve are restricted funds. That's debt reserve. You're required to set aside at least $2,800 or $208,000. And then operating reserve, you currently have about $163,000. So you have a total in reserves about $371,000 for in the wastewater. We propose that the targeted fund balance, as we explained earlier, you're required per your loan covenant that you have to have a reserve of at least that $208,580. We propose at least 3 months of O&M that you would set aside for operating reserves for those cash flow issues, that you would have at least $395,841 set aside. And then for emergency reserves, we ask again 3% of that total current asset value would be at $649,586 for a total of $1.2 million. Yeah.
Waiting for that to sink in.
Yeah. So each one of those pillars, again, are showing the dark green is the O&M budget. The debt service is that darker green or the medium green there. And then the capital improvement plan would be the lighter green. And then the very top dark green is your asset replacement revenue or reserve for your asset replacement program. So that is, go back, Sarah. So that is, yeah, so that's showing you if we funded those in full as we're recommending, and what the target minimum fund balance, that's at 1.2, that we are proposing that you would have in your reserves to mitigate any of those cash flow issues. Next. So without increasing your water rates at all, this gives you kind of a visual of what that would look like. If we didn't increase rates at all, you're looking at a deficit of about 3.5 million in 5 years. Quite a huge deficit. Again, that dark blue line, that's representing that 1.2 million that we asked that you set aside for cash flow purposes. And then your current revenues would be the red line. So you can see by the time we even get into the 2027, you're not going to even be able to afford to pay your debt at the current rate.
Or your water.
Just like our government.
So this here is if we were to fund the CIP, the cash set aside reserves for the CIP in 3 years rather than 5 years, you're looking at a 35% increase in the first year in your rates, 20% the second, and then 10, and then it would level out to about 5% the latter 2 years. We actually are recommending the 5-year, and that, again, as you talked about, that gradual increase rather than such a high increase at the first year of it. But you can see that by 2029, you're actually going to hit that 1.2 million in your cash flow, and would hit about 3 million in reserves for that CIP and that asset replacement program. And then the red shows your actual revenue. You'd be at that 3.5 million. Again, you're still going to reach that 3.5 million. We're just going to do it at a more gradual basis in option 2. And that's spreading that 5-year CIP cash set aside over 5 years rather than 3 years. That would only put an increase of 25% rather than 35%, and then 15 and then 10 in the last 3 remaining years of the 5-year budget plan. Your ending fund balance would be at 1.8 million. And you would actually have revenues up at about 3.3 million. So you'd actually reach that plateau that you're wanting to be able to fully fund your CIP and your asset replacement program and cover that debt as well as your O&M costs. And with option 2, you actually end up with more cash reserve, spreading it over 5 years in our proposal than doing it in the 3-year plan. So. So that tells you we'll be covering all of your operating expense, funding all of those repairs and those improvements, as well as accumulating that sufficient reserves for that set aside cash that you project that you will need in order to fund those projects and those assets. So the wastewater demand characteristics, again, we look at residential use. At this point, the staff asked us to look at a different type of rate structure. Like as I explained earlier, you're paying based on your water usage, where residents as well are based on that. The staff asked us to put a proposal together that would change your rate structure based on strength. And putting a rate that would be a flat rate, not based on water usage for your residential customers, and that your commercial customers would then be on an actual structure based upon the strengths of their actual waste, and then also how it would impact the plant. And their rate would be based upon their actual water usage. So it'd be only the commercial customers. And the reason for that is that residential use typically is fairly consistent with, each housing unit. Doesn't change as far as strengths or impact to the actual wastewater facility in treating that waste compared to your commercial users that demand, and that varies by business type. So we work very close with Brian to look at the different types of businesses you have, as well as comparing that to other. And I'm actually going to turn this over to our experts. Sam, are you there?
I'm
There we
here.
go.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, so I'm going to turn this over and let him, he's our expert and actually worked on this portion of the project, so I'm going to let him explain this to you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, of course. Great job, Gene.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks. So I'm Sam Rodriguez. I did a little introduction at the beginning before we had our weird trip into the void. Just a little bit more background, though. I was an engineer in wastewater treatment plant design before I came to RCEC, and so got to work on this, which is a fun dip back into the wastewater world. So like Gene was saying, we looked at reevaluating the wastewater rate structure a little bit. And so one of the ways of doing that is to go by kind of the load or the impact that users put upon your wastewater system. And so wastewater characteristics can kind of be divided into three main things that plants look at. You're looking at flow, which is just volume. People are pretty used to that concept. And then there's biological oxygen demand. And this is kind of an indirect way of measuring the amount of organic matter that comes in wastewater. So instead of saying other unpleasant things, we say biological oxygen demand. And so that's an identifiable thing for most people to look at. And then total suspended solids, which is all the things in the water, in the wastewater. So those are the three characteristics that we're going to be looking at moving forward. I can't see the slides anymore, Sarah, so I don't know.
They're going to bring him back, Sam.
Okay, cool. That's okay. You can go to the next one.
So one more thing on that.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, so biochemical oxygen demand is basically measuring bacteria and what bacteria is consuming, so how much oxygen they're putting out, right? And total suspended solids is like fats, oils, and greases, is like, poop, is anything that's a solid, right? And so when we compare a residential customer to something like a restaurant, and so that was on the last slide, the previous one.
Previous slide.
You go back one.
Give us just a minute. Yeah, we're gonna go get back to that slide for you. Have we go?
You're killing me. All right.
Other way. Yep.
Yeah, there we go. One more. One more?
Okay. Yep. Okay, awesome. So if you look at residential biochemical oxygen demand is 175 milligrams per liter, whereas a restaurant is 1,000 milligrams per liter. We consider that high strength wastewater. And then on the total suspended solids and residential is similar, 175 milligrams per liter, but a restaurant is 600. And so, and there are varying. So between residential and restaurant, there are like car washes and different types of businesses, and we'll go into the detail, especially cannabis and winery. So that's all I wanted to add to that slide. So keep going.
Thanks.
Got it, sir.
So just like drinking water, we divide the costs up in between fixed costs, which are the things that happen before the flow comes in, right? The things you have to cover no matter what, no matter how much flow changes. That's what you have to cover. So personnel costs, asset replacements, if you pay any leases, any debt, that kind of thing will be in your fixed cost. Volumetric costs, those are things that change with the amount of service that you're providing. So that's so the amount of flow that's coming in, essentially. So chemicals will be adjusted depending on the amount of flow your system's receiving. Electricity will also typically go up, a percentage of it. if you're receiving more flow. So things like that are things that you can look at and think in terms of volumetric costs, so costs that might change. So proposed, the structure that we were looking at, and in the efforts to be equitable, you're looking at a fixed flat bi-monthly rate for residential customers. Residential demand, like Jane was saying, is a steady and characteristically constant flow to your wastewater system. It doesn't typically change very much from residence to residence, and so you can kind of count on what that's going to look like. Volumetric rates, so those will be rates that can be applied to what we identified as 3 different customer classes. Those can change depending on strength, and so the strength of your wastewater affects the impact it has on your wastewater treatment system, and so the amount of treatment needed, you kind of think of it that way, varies depending on different commercial industrial industries, and so you can more accurately identify their impact on the system and the cost to treat their wastewater. And so we've divided that into 4 categories: low strength, medium strength, and high strength. And then we also have schools, which we slot under low strength. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next one. Yeah, just a good indicator. This is also what your neighboring community of Grass Valley does. And so we looked at them as a reference for this. So the low strength category, we're going to think about things like car washes, churches, department stores, some laundry mats, professional offices, retail stores, those things that don't produce really high concentrated wastewater, and then also schools in that category. Medium strength, so we're looking at around 350 for BOT and TSS. Those are things that have more organic matter, more higher organic matter concentration in them. So bars with a dining facility, anything really with a dining facility along with it. Repair shops, depending on what their service is, service stations, some commercial and industrial laundromats, so your more focused ones, and then some cannabis production facilities. And then your high strength, we're looking at the bakeries, the restaurants, things that are going to produce higher concentrations. So Abigail mentioned fats, oils, and greases. They'll call those FOG. Those are high load flows that when they hit your wastewater system, and FOG can be difficult to treat if you get it in really high concentrations into your wastewater system. And then things like hospitals, if they have a kitchen especially, wineries and breweries, cannabis manufacturing that involves oils. So depending on what's being produced by them. So we should, little asterisk there. They can have higher effects or not. I do want to, at this point, especially for folks, public works folks, this is not meant to be in placement of any sort of pre-treatment program or industrial use permit program that you have. And we talked a little bit about making sure your ordinance fits that. So it's not meant to be in place of if you have a facility like a brewery or a winery that necessitates pre-treatment. That pre-treatment program is still important to have. So in terms of how cost is broken down, volumetric and fixed, so about 20 or 19% of the cost of the system are volumetric, so it's depending upon the amount or volume of wastewater that your system's receiving. And then 81% is fixed, so those costs you have to cover no matter the volume of wastewater you're receiving. And then just in terms of flow characteristics, so we're looking at the loading numbers. For flow, it's about 61%. In this graphic, it doesn't exactly show it, but it's more like 19 and a half for each of those. So that's why the doesn't add up perfectly to 100. So you're looking at about 19.5% for both BOD and TSS in terms of allocation. So rate option 1, this is 3-year CIP. So making sure that you're hitting things early and fast. Kind of the first one where you saw that graph that Gene had up. So for single family, and so residential rates, remember this is the flat bi-monthly rate. We're starting out 192, and then so we do a big jump, and then we do a steady increase after that. And then commercial rates, this is per 1,000 gallons. So make sure you see the K-gal right there. So this is based off of the previous wet weather months. So I believe for y'all that's January and February, water flow. And then at the bottom, you'll see we're doing an affordability index moving up from 1.7 all the way up into the 2s.
Yeah. Do you want me, Sam, do you want me to take over from here?
Sure, yes, sorry.
That's okay, you're all right. Yeah, so that breaks it down to about $96 per month. And like you said, we're looking at a 1.7%. That's where your affordability threshold is at. So you can see by the time we get to 2030, you're at that 2.5. So you're getting at that high threshold of affordability. Again, 2% is considered an affordable rate for your current MHI, and that will typically increase over time. But that's what you're looking at. That that's funding the 3-year CIP. So that's doing the higher rate increase in the beginning first 3 years, and then less in the last 2. And then the 8.64 for low strength. So again, that's going to be per 1,000 gallons of water usage per month. So it would be based on the previous month, would be reflected on the next month's bill based on their water usage for commercial businesses only. And again, the different strengths, depending on the strength to what that cost is per 1,000 gallons based on their water usage for those commercial customers. And then if we fund option 2, which is spreading it over the 5-year CIP plan, then you're looking at about a $7 decrease in the monthly rate in the first year. So it would bring it down to 88.90. So it'd be at about 1.5 of would be the affordable threshold for that. And then by 2030, you would be at about 2.3. But again, by the time we get to 2030, you're going to have more based on this option, more in reserve, cash reserves than with option 1. So that's a plus. So it goes from about 2.5 to 3.5
With no CIP.
in reserves. No, that's funding. So if the rate increase we propose in option 1, so that's getting that cash in reserves in the first, funding the CIP in the first 3 years rather than 5 years.
Oh, I see, it's just front loading.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so you're actually better off with option 2. It's not as high of a monthly in the beginning. It's more of a gradual increase over time for your customers. So that gives you a visual of what that would be as far as a monthly cost to your customers.
Yeah, okay.
So this is that, we were talking about surrounding communities, what their current rate structures are for water and sewer based upon yours. So if you look at the 99.11, that is your current rate and where you're at compared to the other surrounding communities. The proposed rate increase that we're proposing today would put you at 146.86, so $146.86 per month. So you can see it still keeps you below some of the others near communities, and what that kind of the difference there kind of puts you at in comparative to others.
And if I might add, as you can see here, Nevada City has one of the lowest water rates in the area compared to your neighbors.
We're also the smallest. I know that doesn't affect.
But you don't have as many ratepayers to share that cost,
Exactly,
so.
exactly.
And it costs the same, because you're monitoring requirements,
Higher
your
than a whole
discharge,
county.
and then you're discharging into a surface water source, so you have a higher demand of
Yeah.
treatment and your waste discharge as well.
Yeah.
What's going on in Cascade Shores?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All waste.
At volume, and they've got an even smaller number of people than we do.
Well, they're cleaning all of Scotts Flat.
And I want to mention that the 146 that we're recommending, that's with the rate options we're recommending, which is for water, option 1 with the 1-year deferred CIP, and then for
Option
wastewater, it's option
Option
2
two.
with the smooth over the 5 years.
Yeah.
So if you want to share your comments again, I know you had already discussed that, like, you probably won't make a decision today, but, you know.
Were we supposed to?
Process.
Yeah, and
I can clarify that. Okay. What we're hoping to do is schedule a future public meeting.
Oh, boy.
Schedule another meeting to request council approval to start the Prop 218 process. And the Prop 218 process involves public communication, flyers, it'll be workshops, it'll be fairly lengthy, maybe 60-day timeframe of communication.
We'll be talking about these rate increases during that time.
Yeah, so we would come back to a future meeting to get authorization to start that process.
Okay, thank you.
so we have a few more slides about the Prop 218 process, if you don't mind. Just to give some clarification, if you can go back to the presentation. Okay, so here's an overview of what Prop 218 requires. Utility rates must be aligned with the cost of service provided. Rate revenues must only be used to fund the utility service. Ratepayers must be notified 45 days in advance of any proposed rate increase. Rates are adopted on a 5-year timeline, and any ratepayer against the proposed rate increase may submit a written protest. Now, we also included in the board packet an example of what that public notice could look like. It's a draft in there which details that out, and it also details out what protesting requires. So I will just share briefly that to oppose the rate increase, property owners or tenants may submit written protests prior to the close of a public hearing. And then written protests must be signed, include the identification of the property involved in the protest by assessor parcel number or address. If written protests against the rate adjustments are submitted by more than 50% of affected properties, the proposed rate adjustments will not be adopted. Only one protest is allowed per property and will be counted pursuant to the code. And there is a 120-day statute of limitations for challenging the proposed rates if you post a study online. So it's very important that you post all this online for your community. Yeah, so in terms of timeline in this process, I'm gonna go over that. Oh, I already shared that, so I'll just skip here. Okay, so if you plan to instate the rates by July 1st, 2026, you need to provide that 45-day period from the point in which the mailing goes out, so the letter notifying your customers, and the hearing is held. However, we highly, highly recommend that you provide more time. So I know you mentioned 60 days. We would recommend actually that you would have the hearing be in June at the latest, and then the mailing would need to happen if you have Prop 218 hearing in June. You want that mailing, that letter, to be sent out to your customers by early April at the latest to make sure people are getting that. So ample time. So we're looking at, the council proposing to approve whichever rate options and include those in the letter and mail that. Prep this letter, we would say, by your April council meeting, or sorry, not April, by your March council meeting, so that you're ready to send out those letters by April. So that's the timeline we're looking at if you want to propose these rates to make them effective by July 1st this year.
You'll still be mayor, perfect.
July 1st? No, I won't.
Oh, I thought it was June 1st.
I'll be in Spain.
So
Damn it.
This is our last slide, just regarding the rest of the next steps. I mentioned some of this already, but we want to receive and incorporate any feedback the council has for us. Then the city will need to choose a rate option, mail those Prop 218 notices, and hold that public hearing at least 45 days. And yeah, that's basically everything I already said, so. Yeah.
And once you've made a decision as well, we will draft a final report for the wastewater study that we've done. And that report would conclude everything that we've discussed and how we come up with those, and those charts that you're looking at and graphs and so forth would be included in that for both water and wastewater that you would be able to post online as well.
May I add one more thing?
Yes.
So the rates that we noticed would be the maximum rates that the council can adopt in any given year. So in the case that, the city wants to allocate more general funds, or the city gets a large grant, or something changes, you can always adopt a lower rate. But anytime we raise the rates, we have to mail a notice to all customers. So we do try to take a higher approach.
Thanks, Abigail. All right, that concludes our presentation.
Thank you so much. Shall we get the first of lots of public comment we're going to get on this subject?
Oh.
I'd just like to say that you will still be mayor on July 1st,
That's incorrect.
until the first meeting in
Do we
July.
get to comment on the wastewater before the public comments on the whole thing?
It's public comment first, but yeah, we're next on that.
No, there,
It's at the mayor's discretion.
Okay, got it.
the request was for us to comment on the wastewater study, and then open for public comment overall, I believe was the request.
Okay.
It's your
It
call.
was a suggestion.
Oh, you're looking at me. I just realized that the rates are going to go, what did I calculate this? Yeah, $560 a year. That's, for both. That's just a lot. I mean, thank you. Great stuff. I'm glad the wastewater wasn't as bad as the drinking water, but here we are. And, you guys presented to us very well. Maybe next time give options, and say, okay, I mean, because, you could, what? What are you saying?
There's two options.
I know, but I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, just as far as it's all the same percentage, we're gonna get to the same place in 5 years. And I know there's, if you invest more in the first year, it aggregates over. But anyway, thank you. I'm gonna defer to my colleague.
I'm going to ask you two questions you probably don't know the answers to because it's kind of broader than this report. But one is, if we were to smear out these rate increases, we sort of run the risk of not having money in the first 2 years of the smear out to cover the costs of catastrophic failure. What do you think are the probabilities of running that risk?
That's a Brian question.
That's why I said you probably didn't do that.
Poly market.
That is probably something we're going to need to consider, If we want to lessen the impact on our citizens by reducing the first big bump, will we run out of money in the next 2 years to do something that we would have money for if we didn't do that? Okay.
Grant funding, we're disadvantaged, so we got to leverage that right now into grant funds, right?
I would mention currently, they are not providing grant funding to the State Water Resource Control Board for systems that are not failing or at risk. So even though you're disadvantaged, they can loan you funds, but they cannot provide grant under the IUP currently as of this year. That could change next year.
We could have a failure
Don't know if
next
that,
year.
I anticipate that, but it's for 2 years now. The IUP that State Water Resource Control Board put out is grant funding is only provided to systems that are at risk or failing at this time.
There are no other funding sources besides that?
Yeah, I have another community that's disadvantaged and looking for funding as well for infrastructure, and
It's tough. It's tough,
they
yeah.
said they have loan
I used to do
available to
water.
them, but they do not have
I used to work
grant
with you guys.
funding that's available at this time. So you run that risk, and we're looking at, 8% percent in drinking water side, cash. You set aside 12% for your projects and assets on the wastewater side. So you're really looking for a huge amount of percentage of grant funding. So just.
Anything helps.
Keep in mind, yes.
There is federal funding, of course,
I know.
too, but yeah, just emergency reserves are set aside for catastrophic failure in the case
You
of
not
an
have to look at
emergency.
our voting record. This is just to the council. At one point, the previous manager and I were talking about outsourcing the wastewater treatment.
Yeah, that's
And just keep that in mind, that could save our citizens some money, but there would be upfront costs to doing that as well.
Gary seen that movie. Good suggestion though, Lou. I appreciate you bringing that.
Think about it.
Go for it.
Just thank you. It's not an easy message to deliver, and you did it well. And any responses we have are to our own folly and not to what you're delivering. So thank you.
Okay, yeah, I'm not into killing the messenger. That was a lengthy presentation, and I'd like to run a test on my council members to see how much they absorbed. And I say that because we have to present this to our community. And it can't be like this. It cannot be like this. It won't work. I mean, I've seen this rebellion too many times when we expect, we live in a highly intelligent, highly engaged community. But when you start talking suspended solids and you start talking, it's like you can hear the sound of people's shallow breathing and their eyes rolling up in their heads. I am deeply concerned about how we bring this to our community. Deeply concerned, because it has to be explained in a way so that they can make decisions about it. We're asking them to vote on it. This town is fully capable of defeating a Prop 218 vote if they decide to do it. Fully capable.
Oh, yeah.
And what we need to do is to bring them along with the understanding, and I'm actually sort of entertaining an idea of designing a process that would allow us to hear from our community about how much pain they are willing to take in this process to determine going forward. So it's not just us saying this is what we're doing to you, that this is about how we do it together. There's really critical pieces here. Our community cares about the environment. This is all about the environment, protecting the environment with waste. Fire, we care a lot about fire. This is all about water supply. These are about the things that our community cares about deeply. But they don't care about suspended solids. And they don't care about the cost of chemicals in treating the plant. So
we do.
We have to.
Good thing you're on that committee, Gary.
What committee is that?
Water and infrastructure.
This one is for all of us. This is not a committee assignment. This is.
But
for
it
all
is
of us.
when we bring it to the community.
But we really need to do this in a way that brings people along and helps them understand. We can't continue to subsidize. Although I have to say, $50,000 ain't bad in general fund contribution annually, but it adds up over time. And
This
again,
piece, yeah.
and again, to make the point that every dime from the general fund that we spend on an enterprise fund is a dime that we're not spending on programs that we programmed and care about. And we've got to close that up, and infrastructure is going to be critical. So how do we bring our community along in that thinking? And I have a lot of thoughts about that, and we're going to have to be very intentional about that. I spoke to Brian about this. We're gonna do it, and we're likely to do a process that you've never seen. But we will engage our community that cares deeply about these things and sample them to understand that we are making the best informed decision that we can make for the majority of our community. That's what we work to do here, and that's the way we'll approach this, and it's absolutely necessary.
Here.
Thanks, Gary.
Well put.
We're here as a result of past councils kicking the can down the road. And I feel that my colleagues are not willing to kick it down further, that we have to take responsibility in this moment, and I think there's virtue in accepting that responsibility, and I think also it is, as Gary said, going to be a big job to communicate that to our community, including a lot of people who are struggling financially, including the person currently using this microphone. Thank you for your presentation. Well done.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
What a great time to raise fees.
Yeah.
Is there ever?
Is there
ever?
Sure,
Joan, do you feel
but-
we've provided recommendations and direction for now?
I think you need to hear public comment first.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Better answer that question.
Is there any public comment on this topic?
Thank you.
Jim Morris, Nevada City Sphere of Influence. Suggestion that obviously we've been subsidizing and kicking the can down the road, and it's very much an environmental issue. I suggest maybe give public tours of the sewage and water treatment plants, just to help educate and see things, people could see things. The other thing too is a way to maybe continue to subsidize and a little bit more and to reduce the pain is just turn off the gas lamps, because there's a huge amount of money going into that from this, from the city general fund, or I believe. But that's a way you could maybe get a refund to the residents, from that money we would save. And I'm not going to talk about what the maintenance costs are of those lamps, but just the gas itself. It's a huge percentage of the amount of gas Nevada City uses. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Are we spending a lot of that money on gas?
Hello, my name's Scott Wayland. This isn't my wheelhouse. I'm an HVAC engineer, but I was listening to your presentation and I was very impressed. And I also commend the board, the council, for addressing this. I think that transparency and what Gary was talking about messaging is a big deal. And I heard from the pros here about the expenditures and the future losses and the balance. And at the end, one of my first comments was that grants are going to be an issue, but then near the end, you just told us that they're kind of not even there. So all the math is heavily dependent upon that big chunk. I think that one of the things that I was thinking about over here, because I'm kind of a tree hugger, is the efficiency aspect. And while flow is not a big part of your pie chart, and you guys are correlating fixed to where the rates on the fixed fee versus the flow fees should be, I think that maybe, unless there's something in Prop 218 or the other agencies that help you guys define the standard of care, that it would be great as a selling point to create more tiers on the flow, maybe more on the supply side, because I saw in commercial it's more based on the heaviness, and that is a tiered structure in itself. But I was just quickly doing some research, and I saw that other larger jurisdictions are fixing tiers into their 218 propositions. And so there should be not just 2 tiers that are the same, but maybe 4 tiers like we see, what we used to see in PG&E, like maybe starting at 4,000 per month, and I think that and obviously you don't want to create some sort of efficiency such that we're dropping the rate so much that you're not going to hit your goals, but at the same time, if you levelize it, right now it looks like it's 70% fixed fee, for the average usage, but maybe if it was at least 50-50, half of it's my flow and half of it's fixed, you might be able to give the citizens an incentive to save. And it might also help them palletize the change, because you're going to empower them with a carrot, something for them to work with. Even a brewery needs to have a payback, and if the rates are too low, then the payback is too long. So what am I going to do to save just for your commercial user? So I think that we should have more of the percentage on the tiered flow, even though that's not part of the fixed. And I see I'm down to my 10 seconds. Welcome, this is a great community.
Thanks, Scott.
I have
know little about this, but it seems like Gary's suggesting that conservation would be a way to reduce water and the biodemanding solids, with oxygen, yeah, wastewater. And I mean, like, for example, garbage disposals and low flush toilets, gray water recycling. And that these type of things, there might be a way to incorporate that, you know, in a creative way within the community, where we could, they do this in fire. If you have the right type of fire protection in your home, you have a lower rate. And it would also fit in with the philosophy of Nevada City being more conscientious about the environment. So there might be other things that we could do too, get creative and to solve this problem beyond just making assumptions about what costs will be in the future. I'd like to be a part of that. Thank you.
Gordon.
Oh, Gordon, sorry.
Oh, that's great.
That's great. Greg's over.
Thanks, Greg.
Gordon's the other guy.
Wells, we have a lot of wells, we've discovered. How wouldn't we just go to a well system?
Some of that water
Thinking
isn't
outside the
palatable.
box. Travis.
Travis Duckworth. Thank you guys, really, really well done. I think this is analogous to some of the other things that we're not talking about today, but you know, we've kicked the can down the road in terms of water and suppressing, raising those rates. We've kicked the can down the road in terms of suppressing housing infrastructure here. I'd be really curious what it would look like. There's obviously the fixed costs that are there no matter what, but if there was an increase in residential homes here, how that would impact incoming fees, how that would impact that revenue source as well. And then, yeah, just resonating, you know, my environmental brain says if we get rid of tiers, we're no longer incentivizing lower water usage. And so curious if, you know, it's 5,000 gallons or 8,000 gallons, if it's the same price, I don't have an incentive to pay less necessarily. I love that idea of possibly like incentivizing or giving a discount within the first year or two if people do implement some kind of gray water catchment system or something else to help lower those rates. But yeah, great job. And I guess that's what I would love to see is like, is there some data that we could gather even from other examples of what it looks like if we increased our residential population slightly? Cool.
Nice, thanks, Harris.
Thanks, Travis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody. We're going to take a bio break now. It'll cost us around $70. Thank you, everybody. We'll continue with business item 11, introduction and first reading of ordinance 2026-01.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
If we could go back for just a second?
Oh, yeah.
To wrap up the last item?
Oh,
So I didn't get a chance to talk to Brian during the break, but I think we would like to have just a little bit more input from the council
Sure.
on what option you are comfortable with at this point.
None.
No?
So I think that the two options that were presented, although they're well done, are too limited for what we would like to consider. Is that just me, or?
I mean, if we're
Can
going
you say more?
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah, always.
I'm sorry I asked.
But I think we've heard some things about incentives and balancing that I think is critical. I think I don't want to make decisions about what a subsidy of the general fund might look like until I understand where the community is with this. So I personally do not have enough information to choose between the two options that are presented.
Okay, and that's what we need to hear in order for us
That's where I-
to
that's where I am.
structure next steps.
Can I just ask a question, though? I mean,
Well, that's one council member, too.
yeah, no, but I feel you, I hear you. So even if we subsidize, we're still gonna have to pick one of those plans, or we're gonna change the plan, right? I mean, it's not gonna change the proposal they've given us. We can say, we're gonna throw 100,000 at it, or we got grant money for it, but we're still gonna have to make a decision about those two options.
That's right.
And I think we should give staff that ability, if, and not the green light, but to say, hey, what are your preferences for options?
Okay, because we're looking at the 218 where they said it's out all the way, and then how we fund that or decide to fund that is up to us.
Yeah.
So okay, I get that. In that case, I would go for the second option with water and the first option with wastewater.
you don't
Okay,
want to swap
but
that?
can you tell me why you,
Same.
You don't want to swap that? Are you sure you have that in the right order?
you don't want to cover the CIP for water?
If it just begins a little later.
No, it doesn't. Does it, do we get, I thought one was with CIP,
First one for the.
first one and two, right? Yeah. So,
1 and 2, not 2 and 1.
so the first one, the options one covered all of the CIP for the, for the needs of the water treatment plant. And then the other one didn't. Did
Right,
the other
no
one have some
CIP.
kicking later? Some CIP kicking later?
No, for water, it was include the CIP or don't include the CIP.
Yeah.
No, I want to include the CIP.
Yeah, I knew you would.
Absolutely want to include. the
Water
CIP.
is, we're a little,
Okay, I'm confused.
we haven't updated rates in
That's
9
not
years for
suspended
water.
solids.
So water's a little bit further behind as far as keeping up with
Okay,
rates.
I do want to, yeah. If
It's 1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
1 and 2? 1 and 2?
No, I want to smear it out more.
Well, that's what I mean.
We're going to do the smearing.
Right.
Yeah, we would change the.
No, that's not true. If what Lou's talking about is extending, which smearing to me might be extending the length of time.
What do you mean by
More
smearing?
than 5 years.
What do you mean by smearing?
Okay, I don't mean more than 5 years.
Yeah,
I
he
mean
doesn't.
not having as big a bump in the first
And that's what I
year.
said at first, is like, let's not hit him over the head the first year, let's spread it out. Anyway, that's up to us, right? Oh, no, they give us a rate schedule, so it's not up to us.
It's not, because that
Yeah.
rate schedule has to be voted in. If we want to reduce it earlier on and spread it out later, it has to be redone for a 218, because it has to go out again with the maximum, so that people vote on it. We can then decide to reduce it or do a lot of other things with it. But if we're going, there has to be a fixed schedule that goes in the 218.
And it has to be 5 years.
And we can't modify what they gave us?
Yeah, we can.
But one of the things that I don't know well, because I'm not that great at math, is if you don't do the percentage that they said the first year and do it later, there's going to be some, I mean, I think there's a reason they wanted to front load it, because it covers the reserves, it covers, capital improvement. And so, I hear you, and that's what I was saying. Let's like give them 10, 10, 10, or 20, 20, 20, or something like that. But I don't know. So anyway, I'm
Well, I
confusing
think
it more than
there
I need
was
to.
there was a statement there that I think was really important in understanding with the limited reserves that we have. If we don't pick up those reserves for CIP quickly,
Yeah.
we're rolling the dice.
And the CIP goes up.
Exactly.
And the CIP goes up. Yeah, there it is.
So what, the consultant should have been here for this discussion, frankly.
You know this.
But, okay. All right.
Somebody's
So,
here.
but what the direction that the substantive direction that staff needs is the direction for us to bring back options. What are the concerns? To mitigate the initial impact while
Yes.
preserving the CIP
Yes.
component to it? Is that, and then we can tell them, go massage numbers and bring us back a couple more models that do that. Is that the direction?
That's
That is
right.
what I would like.
That's what Lou wants. I think that's what I
Yes.
agree to. I think what.
I'm not going to argue about it.
Give us a reason not to?
No.
He said I'm not
Okay,
going to argue
okay.
about
So
it.
I'm not going to argue.
You're
about
fair.
it.
Okay, good. All right.
It's just that we are rolling the dice. Just understand that
Yes.
any as I stated, they're being very conservative, but they're stacking that up. We got $20,000 in the waste.
Yeah.
and the water
Would you
waste.
be willing to make general fund contributions in the first couple of years to smooth out the rate increases? Because I think that's what that would be.
And I want to be real careful about this conversation. So we need to be real delicate in terms of a conversation about subsidizing these rates, because there's a area in the law and risk level. And typically you don't talk about general funds subsidizing. You talk about enterprise funds loaning to certain funds. So this, we need to steer clear of this. Let's just find a way to subsidize from the general fund. That's not a way that we don't need to be speaking like that. If in fact you want to find ways to contribute to a way to reduce rates, then there are loan options and things that we can discuss, but that shouldn't be treated very casually.
Okay, fair enough. And loans don't do us any good. It's the same thing, right? So, but your point is well taken, and we can still address that later. I think that we can, I mean, I think that we would.
John's got something here. What do you-
No, I was just going to say
I would
that,
agree that we would look at some other, schedules. Let's have them throw some other schedules there with percentages, and then tell us what the impact is to the general fund and to the CIP. And then we give that to the public, right? We say, hey, we can, or do we don't?
no, you can, but I agree with what you're saying, because then you have an additional option to look at and make a determination of where you would like to go. You're going to have to know that to go into the Prop 218 hearing.
Yes, exactly.
That's not going to be a decision that's made during that process.
Okay, fair enough. Good, good.
And realize that we do run a risk of not having enough money in the early parts of the lower rate
And it's
increase.
a risk that we've lived with for a very long time.
I was going to say, yeah.
That's
Just not wise.
But now that we know.
But what we're doing now is we're just rolling the dice. We're not kicking the can.
Yeah, that's true. We're not going to kick the can.
We're going to roll dice a little bit, one die.
We cannot kick the can.
Well,
we're
and-
not.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, the other thing that this does is it puts you into a system where you are not kicking the can down the road. Once you make a decision now, then you can at the same time determine, we're going to reevaluate rates on a periodic schedule so that this doesn't happen, so that you are looking at it and making adjustments where necessary as you move forward.
And in theory, the rates following this 5-year window would stabilize.
Yes.
There would be smaller
Exactly.
increments.
Back to
in-
normal.
In theory, and that's
This
what
is
we want to get to.
5 years to catch up is basically what we're doing, right? We're catching up in 5 years. It might be nicer to do it in 10, but
This is a catch-up period.
statutorily, we don't have a choice.
The suggestion that was brought up in public comment about different tiers for people who are using a ton of water versus people who are conserving.
I like the Greg's idea about, or maybe it was Scott's, about giving people an option to conserve water and using, whatever is decided upon, or, conserves water, and they get a discount or something, and then maybe that makes all our community use less water, and that's a great thing, right?
The problem is capacity.
Shower with a friend.
It's capacity. It's capacity. It's like, I've seen some really elaborate tier structures and incentive programs in other cities that had a lot of staff to manage those programs and make them work. And you need a person who's committed to that does it all the time and markets it and everything else. It's a capacity issue. It's a decision we have to make about the resources that we have and how we want them to be deployed. We could do it. I mean, there could be ways to do it, and I think we could do it after the 218. There's ways that we could do it. Yep. But it's something that we should really think about. But again, it's about staffing.
And this is our job. We're cleaning up too. One of the things, just as an aside before we move on, there's a house for sale in my little area, and the people backed out because of the water pressure. I didn't know we had bad water pressure, but apparently we do.
Depends on where you live.
Yeah,
They're from Moraga. No, they're from Tahoe.
No.
Not where they,
I meant where they live in
The end of the
Nevada
line
City.
or the beginning of the line. Yeah, no, I know.
It's gravity.
Well, no, their water pressure was good where they lived.
I had to put a pressure regulator on my house because it was blowing out my pipes.
Too strong?
Yeah.
Oh, look at you bragging. Over there, us at the end of the pipe over here.
You want to tear out my ceiling and replace the pipes?
All right, moving on.
So
maybe.
So we'll come back with
Adam and I are going to have to move
another
in
option. When we present it again,
that's great.
We'll have another option for each.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I think they heard that. I believe the consultant.
Is our consultant still
Yeah,
on?
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Framework
you.
selected, numbers
Thank you.
massaged.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Dean, you wanted to read this one?
No, I'm not going to read the entire title at this time. I will do it by law, we have to, but I'll just, for this point, you are now moving into introduction and first reading of ordinance number 2026-01, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, State of California, repealing and replacing chapters 15.04 and 15.08 of Title 15 of NCMC, adopting the 2025 California Building Codes with local amendments. Recommend you turn it over to staff for a brief presentation.
Yes, please. Hi, Brian.
Hi. So every 3 years, building codes get updated. And so we adopt the international and state codes that are adopted by the county and the state. And we don't have a choice in terms of the codes themselves, but we can make local amendments for local climatic conditions or topographical conditions. And some of the unique things about Nevada City are amendments such as clarifications of what can be done in the historic district, how we handle permits, since the county is our building official, and what structures are exempt from permits. We have a lower threshold. It's 160 square foot or more is required to have a permit. So we're just making a few amendments to match other parts of our code, planning code, and then there's quite a bit in here for wildland urban interface requirements. So we already have other code sections that talk about defensible space and vegetation management. And so we're not changing what the state code says, but we're writing our code in such a way to point towards other parts of our ordinance that speaks to that, in particular like defensible space and veg management, which has been adopted within the last 3 years. So other than that, we're just adopting all the current codes by reference. And this would be the first reading, and we would schedule a public hearing for the second hearing and notice it as a public hearing. So, any questions?
Yeah, you mentioned 160 square feet. What are we changing it from to?
We're not changing it.
We're
That's
pointing
already.
we're pointing to the state, and what does the state say, and what do we say?
The state would say 200 square feet or more needs a building permit, but we already, in our zoning code, say 160 square feet or more needs a building permit.
Somebody bad advice?
Yeah, so.
So, I mean, are there other, that's kind of significant, because I know people who try to skirt the building permits, and I have a neighbor who's building an outbuilding, and he's like, it's under 200 square feet, and so, but right now, as it stands,
It's 160.
160,
yeah.
okay.
What
good
is
to know.
suspended solids in your outhouse?
Put some suspended solids in there, and then you definitely have to get a permit. Thank you. And then what other substantive changes? You said most of them are perfunctory. What other changes affect our code I guess, never mind, that doesn't affect our code because it's already exists.
It doesn't.
Nothing. Everything else is.
Well, so as I understand it, Brian, let me take a run at this. If we have a code that's more restrictive, it references the state but remains in place. What we can't do is do something that's less restrictive than the state.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And that's what we're doing here. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
We're just
correct.
modeling. Okay.
Like,
got
for
it.
instance, historic business district, we want permits to be processed a certain way. We allow for appeals if those are needed, but that's all written in such a way which is unique to our city.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because we're unique. Yeah, okay, thank you.
I have nothing, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Sure.
Public comment, Mr.
Do we have any public comment on this issue? Travis.
I just love to see how you guys work.
We're coming to your place next.
Sick man.
I move.
All nights today, I have things to say,
Thank you.
but great to see you guys delivering.
Thanks for being here.
Okay, I move that we hold the first reading, waive reading of ordinance in its entirety, read by title only, schedule a public hearing for January 28, 2026, for second reading and adoption of ordinance.
I second.
Excellent.
And ordinance number 2026-01, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nevada City repealing and replacing Title 15, Chapters 15.04 and 15.08 of the Nevada City Municipal Code, adopting by reference codes comprising of the 2025 California Building Codes Standards Code, California Code of Regulations, Title 24, Parts 1 through 12, including the California Fire Code 2025 edition, incorporating and amending the 2024 International Fire Code, the California Building Code Volumes 1 and 2, 2025 edition, incorporating and amending the 2024 International Building Code, the California Residential Code 2025 edition, incorporating and amending the 2024 International Residential Code, the California Electrical Code 2025 edition, incorporating and amending the 2023 National Electrical Code, the California Mechanical Code 2025 edition, incorporating and amending the 2024 Uniform Mechanical Code, the California Plumbing Code 2025 edition, incorporating and amending the 2024 Uniform Plumbing Code, the California Energy Code 2025 edition, the California Wildland Urban Interface Code 2025 edition, incorporating and amending the 2024 International Wildland Urban Interface Code, the California Historical Building Code 2025 edition, California Existing Building Code 2025 edition, the California Green Building Standards Code 2025 edition, and the 2024 edition of the International Property Maintenance Code, together with certain amendments thereto, adopting findings of fact to support the imposition of requirements other than those of the California Building Standards Code, and making a determination of exemption under the California Environmental Quality Act.
Woo! I want a YouTube video. It'll go viral. It'll go viral.
Roll call vote, please.
Good job.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yep.
Councilmember Fernandez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sisi?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Dean.
Isn't Brian next, or what do we got?
Business item 12 is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, State of California, amending section 2.40.010 of the City of Nevada City Municipal Code relating to the date of elections. Dean.
Actually, I'm
Joan.
going to do this one. So this is something that came to my attention that prior management was working on, and it had not yet come forward to the council. Time is of the essence here, so it's before you this evening to introduce the ordinance, waive the reading in its entirety, and schedule for second reading and adoption at the next council meeting on January 28th. So what this does is essentially move our it consolidates our election date with the county. It moves our elections to June to be consistent with the state elections code. There's more information in here in the consideration of time. I don't think we need to go into the nitty-gritty details. I'm happy to answer questions, or Dean is from a legal perspective if you have any, but it does make the process much smoother and I think easier to understand.
More sensical.
Does it affect our terms or anybody's term? I mean, does it? No, okay.
Remember how we won our elections in March and we didn't seat until July?
Yeah, just, oh, yeah. June and we see it in July. That makes a little more sense.
Closing that gap,
Yeah, thanks.
Now, that changes every 2 years, right? Some years it's in March, some years it's in June.
No, it will be in June.
Always.
Because remember, the state of California moved their elections to join with Super Tuesday, and so now they're no longer in March, they're now in June, both primaries and generals.
Got it. Thank you.
Excellent.
No questions? Any public comment on this? Okay.
Travis is chuckling. I think I'll take that as a public comment.
I move that we do this.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Peterson, second by Vice Mayor Sisi. We'll do a roll call vote.
Can you read the title of the ordinance, please? Do you have it in front of you?
I got it. I'll do it. Go.
Section, word am I?
Ordinance of the city.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, State of California, amending Section 2.40.010 of the City of Nevada City Municipal Code relating to the date of elections.
Bingo.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Fernandez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sisi?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you.
Is that it?
Reports and future agenda items. What do you have, Joan?
I have no report for you this evening.
Thank you.
I have nothing to report, but I have a request. You know, Council, well, this is also a little report back. Councilmember Peterson and I attended the joint school Nevada City community engagement on school issues, the skate park, and anything the neighbors could think of at the time. No, fire came up, Evan was there. I want to take a step back and say, I was proud of our city. The chief ran the meeting, Lon was there, Evan was there, Brian was in the audience making good comments.
Planner was there.
Our planner was there on the panel, and it went really well. I mean, there was a lot of people who were a little concerned and maybe a little disgruntled. They were less gruntled by the time the chief finished with them. I mean, he's just got this gravitas and he speaks with authority. And he answered everybody's questions, you know, really directly, and it was a really great thing. But out of that, you know, there's still some concerns for those neighbors about the skate park, and we addressed some of those by fixing some things that they were concerned about. But one of the things that has come up is that the skate park budget is very small, and we've talked to the contractors, and they're like, well, yeah, we can only do this size of a skate park with this. If we had more money, not much more money, we could do more. So my request is to the council is to put on the agenda an item to talk about fundraising for the skate park. And this is not me going out soliciting. We already have people ready to donate tree work and groundwork and all that. And we, as a city, cannot fundraise or cannot even be involved in fundraising unless it comes from the council. So I envision, you know, this not being a staff thing. There's an ad hoc, not an ad hoc, there's a committee that's sort of formed that's starting with skaters and people who want to do this and people who know some of the people in the community who are willing to contribute, who've contributed to the Grass Valley project. And so I just want to ask your guys if, I guess this is what I have to do. I need to ask permission to get it on the council. Yeah, what do we need to do?
You're asking for it to go
So
on.
I think it's full intent
agenda.
of staff to bring back a general discussion of the skate park item, which can include anything you wanted to include, as well as what that's going to look like in terms of acquisition, lease options moving forward, funding. So I think we bring back a general discussion and an update on the skate park, and the staff and the council can give us updated direction.
And I want to make one other comment, though, is that, you know, there's this issue of control of the land. We don't have access to the land, and that's getting thrown back in our face a lot. They like to quote Daniela on that from the August meeting, saying, I don't feel comfortable with that. That was in an article in the paper.
I still don't feel comfortable with that.
Well, here's the reason you can't.
This is not a discussion, though, council.
Oh, no, but I just wanted to make the point that, talking to our planner, and our planner presented this, that we need to do CEQA first before we acquire the land, because if the land is bad, we don't want to be stuck with bad land.
Is this a discussion?
No. We can discuss it at the next time when they bring it back.
Let's do what Dean suggested.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that came up, and the reason that we don't, at least what Jessica said, we're not moving forward is because CEQA needs to be done.
Okay.
We will address all that in a staff update.
Thanks. Yes, ma'am.
So, it's been like a really long time since we met, and all kinds of stuff happened. But I'm not going to list them all.
List some of them.
I am, of course. Of course, the menorah lighting was fabulous. Victorian Christmas was wonderful. All the mobbed, wonderful. Unfortunate about the rainy day. I attended the educational program that Daniela and the Jedi group put on at the Foundry, and I'll let you speak to that more. But I think that was an important meeting, well attended, a critical conversation that needs to continue in our community. Also attended with Doug the public meeting, and it was okay. It was okay. What I really liked is when the folks talked about the school traffic and everything else, that Superintendent Baggett didn't waste a moment suggesting that a new school bond measure would help alleviate the problem. I was going, go John. It was a great moment.
That's his job.
I know it is, and he's good at it. So we were at the school district offices, which was fun too. And so it's an interesting evolving process, and I think we need to stay on it. But there was a lot of great stuff. We did a hiring process. It's just on and on and on. We did have, after our last meeting, we had a visit of the Northern California Fire Collaboratory came and visited us. The folks from Paradise and Lake County have been working with fires, and we've been working with them on a large scale approach to dealing with large agencies about how small communities can actually have voices when disaster happens, instead of people just coming in and mowing down. So there's some really interesting conversations there, and we're a part of that. So a lot of great stuff going on. Love who we are, the work that we're doing, and thank you all, and Happy New Year.
Thanks, Gary.
Danielle, do you have anything?
Yeah, last month, Adam and I attended the Culture Forward briefing by the Arts Council as members of the Cultural Districts Committee, right? Sure. Jeez Louise. So many words, so many names. And they basically talked about, they did an arts and culture study. God, I can't find my words tonight, I'm sorry. But anyways, out of that study came a 6-year arts and culture action plan. They will eventually come to council with that presentation. You heard Gianna tonight mention that the Creative Economy Town Hall is on the 22nd. I just want to remind my colleagues that when we all go to such things, there are Brown Act issues, and I think it's okay for more than 2 of us to go as long as none of us speak publicly or even in side conversations about any city stuff. And also, it's always okay to defer to the committee members to bring information back. Consulted Dean about that. I was interested in going to the community meeting, but obviously I stepped back because it's more, in line with your committees, directly in line with your committees. So if you are going to go, maybe reach out and let me know so that we can prepare.
I RSVP'd, but I might be out of town.
Okay.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
Cool, great. I think it'll be a good thing for all of us to go to, but I think we just need to be mindful.
Fiona Ma, come on, how can you go wrong?
For sure. And then, well, there will likely be things that come to council as a result of that, so just all being mindful. Adam and I had our Economic and Community Development Committee meeting on, what day was that? Monday? Was that this week? Was that 2 days ago? Wow. Last week. It was so nice. Jessica brought us 2 items. Our interim planner brought us 2 items. And I had this experience where I was like, I feel like most of the items that have come through committee have been at suggestion, like at request of the council, hey, we'd like to work on this, can you give us information? Or also planning is just doing stuff that doesn't pertain to me and they're kind of in the background. She came to us to ask for direction on specific things, and I just found it really refreshing.
Nice.
I really like Jessica. Her style is very clean and clear and direct and non-political, which I super appreciate. So more on that coming up. And then, the chief and I attended a community update at the Foundry regarding all of the violent attacks that have been happening across the county. It was a joint jurisdiction of law enforcement. So Chief Gamelgard was there of Grass Valley. Sheriff Moon was there, Chief Foss and Jesse Wilson from the DA's office, and gave an update on all they're working on. I shouldn't say all they're working on with law enforcement. The updates seem to be broad and vague because, there are open investigations and such, but it was really nice. Some of the feedback that I got was that people really loved the way Nevada City Police Chief shows up. Chief, you have a very honest and real talk, whereas sometimes people's experience of law enforcement can be that, or institutions, people from institutions kind of talk around things. You kind of talk to things, which I think is really important and refreshing. So thank you, Chief, for representing us. And rightfully so, there are a lot of community members that have a lot of feelings about those things. I think working with Color Me Human on that, we're going to be looking to do the next phase of that with people in school administration, including school board members, and hopefully work with youth to organize and lead that. So more on that soon.
Thanks, Daniela.
Yeah.
I have nothing to report on an official capacity, but on a personal note, I would like to thank all members of the staff and the council who have reached out to me during this period as my father enters hospice. And to let you know that I will be missing the last council meeting in February to go out there and be with him.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks, Lou. I want to echo what Daniela said about our proactive interim city planner. That was pretty exciting. And a lot of it just coming from, this makes more sense. So let's make more sense.
There you
go.
Yes.
Great. Joan, I'm trying to remember how long it's been since we've done one of these. Did I mention that the lieutenant governor came to town, or did I already do that?
No, you haven't.
The lieutenant governor came to town, everybody. And
How was that?
it was a great meeting, and it remains to be seen if it will bear any fruit, but she heard from a number of people, the city, the county, and Chief was there. We had some time to walk her around town. She went to some shops. It is possible they say this to everyone, but her staff reported back that Nevada City was her favorite stop that she did that day. We could double check with some other jurisdictions, but I mean, Nevada City is my favorite stop that she did that day, so why wouldn't it? So why wouldn't it be? That was great. Thanks for setting that up, Joan.
Nice.
Thanks for representing us, Mayor.
Yeah, I think I did okay. I'm looking at you as if you were there.
No, I think you did great, and I would just add, if I could, unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there that day, but we've established a connection. She is quite interested in housing issues, and with that now staff connection that we have, I think it affords us the opportunity that we maybe didn't have before to elevate our comments to a higher level in the state government.
Nice. That's always great.
What's that?
I said excellent.
Yeah.
She seemed particularly sensitive to the notion of one size does not fit all.
In terms of RENA number allocation?
Yes.
Yes.
The formula that's used.
Ooh, that's great.
Yep. If I may, I forgot, on that note, our state assembly rep, Heather Hadwick, was here a few weeks ago, and it was a really small town hall, and meeting her was really a pleasure. She's unbelievably real and refreshing, and she's busting her tail in the North State to see and tend to a lot of people and things. And she was also really interested to connect via regarding RENA number allocations, so.
Nice.
Could be a new city motto, one size does not fit all.
Well, we could workshop that, Dean.
Yeah, I think so.
I'll say one more thing is on the 21st, which is a week from tonight.
Yep.
We've got the art show here, the Champ Gallery, City Hall Art Meets the Public Gallery is going to have the Year of Advanced Music Appreciation exhibit set up, and there will, as always, be refreshments and so forth free to the public. And in this particular instance, there is my understanding will be music in council chambers. So encouraging everyone to come out for that. That starts at 6 p.m.
And we get to stay more than a half an hour.
If you haven't seen it, you should go out, look on the wall and check out Brett Shady's photo, man.
I
It's
know,
a
that's the
killer.
best. I would buy it if
We've got to give
it
it
was
to
for
our,
sale.
what's her name?
Nancy.
Nancy's, we got to get Nancy a picture of that Brett Shady. It's a
I'm-
killer photo.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
That's a motion from Councilmember Fernandez, and a second from
Thank you,
Councilmember
staff.
Fleming, who's
Thank
out
you,
the
staff.
door.
Thank you, Dean.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Good night.
council.
Carrie, how we do, Carrie?
Well,